Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday Call Live. Filmed in beautiful Burlington, North Carolina in front of a live studio audience. Now let's hear it for our special guest host, James and Jane Hill.
Is that me?
I don't know.
So powerful. So powerful. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
James and Jane Hill here doing the TWC right after conference.
Yay!
Did you guys have some fun? I don't know about you. I had an absolute blast. We are all on a high right now. Feel invincible, feel unstoppable. We got some announcements.
Yeah, we do.
So Andy is in California right now.
Yes.
Helping out with another deal of some, like, this man is on fire, working all like crazy. God only knows what he's doing right now. He's meeting with some agents at some point, I know that. And he was like, hey, you guys want to do TWC? And we're like, sure.
Yay.
Thank you. Like, much appreciated the fact that he would give us that, responsibility, that blessing. We appreciate the heck out of that, Andy. Thank you very much. We have a ton of contests. Y'all know how many contests we have going on right now? Like, how many different things? I can't even keep track of all of them.
Well, we're going to right now.
We're going to try. We're going to try.
Right now we are.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the big one. He knows you a little too well. All right, the big one. The one that you, I, and everybody is a part of. The month of January 1st to the 31st. Okay, we're going to do this every month, I know, for at least the next 3 months.
All year. Pretty sure it's all year, isn't it? Did I just say that?
Hold up, slow down. All right, so the way this contest works, you can stay over there, just slow down.
Okay. I'm already back over here.
So, minimums, 20 appointments a week, 20,000 issue paid, right? That's what our minimums. Okay, fanatics, 30 appointments a week, 30,000 issue paid a month. All right? So Andy has a contest right now where every month he's going to be doing something pretty darn awesome.
Yep.
Like he's going to be doing a hot spot and all that kind of stuff, but he's going to squeeze in something like an insane meal at some crazy restaurant where, you will have food that you will never in your life be able to taste again because that's the only time the chef is making it.
It's some good food.
Stuff like that. Okay? There'll be times where he's like, hey, we're going to go race Lamborghinis, Ferraris, all that kind of stuff on the racetrack. You can go as fast as you want.
Me too.
I
can do too.
Make sure your policies are enforced.
Make sure you're not on there while Jane's on there.
Hey.
So he's just like, hey, if you have $20,000 issue paid in the month of January, I will invite you to the next badass whatever thing I'm doing. All right? He says if you have $30,000 issue paid, he'll not only invite you, he will pay for you. I think if you're $20,000, you get invited, and he pays for the
30,000 is he pays. He gives you the $1,000.
Hold on,
No.
That's not what I'm talking about. So you get invited. 30,000. You get invited. He will not only pay you $1,000 to travel there. So DJ in Alaska.
There you
If
go.
he wants to go, he might want to have 30,000 issue paid because it ain't cheap going back and forth from Alaska. So, and you get a 2020 Vision Success Coin, and you get invited to the event.
Yes.
The next badass event. So it says dinner, exclusive training, exclusive association. What I'm not clear on is I think if you get 20,000 issue paid, I think he pays for the association, whatever the event is. So we'll need if somebody wants to clarify that for us, that would be awesome. So number one right now, Joseph Dukes, Branton Jill Swindell, Megan W., Robert W., Timothy, James and Jane Hill. Good job, baby. I mean, you get a kiss for that. Mwah. Right in front of everybody. Paul Epstein, Jan M, Carrie and Mike W, Terry and Tia Edwards, sitting right here next to us. And how far down should we go? Let's see. Terry and Tia Edwards, Debbie Ben. No, there's another way to do it. There we go. Debbie Ben, Ethan D, Jeremy Patton, Shannon B, Jonathan and Megan. That's right. Merlene, Austin, Katrina, Brandon and Ashley, Mike and Michelle Alleman, Karen, Douglas, Paul and Rachel. I know who that Paul and Rachel is. I know who that Paul and Rachel is. Evan, Courtney and Chris and Courtney Long, Marty and Diana, Lee R. Most of these I know who that little R is and all that kind of stuff, but I don't, you know. Jane, you want to sing them? Marcus R.
Lee Reyes, Marcus Richardson.
I said, you really want to sing them, don't you? Alfonso T. DJ G. J. I know that one. I know that one.
There's a lot of favoritism right now.
Oh, wow, look at this one.
When your upline does the GWC, they'll say your full name.
Exactly. Exactly. Brian B., Brian R., Amaka, Minerve Profil, Rachel, Marvin and Rachel, Lori, Nick, Kurt C., and Hernan R. We got 40 people in the running right now. 40 people in the running. I'm very excited. Like when Andy runs contests, y'all, take advantage of him.
Yeah.
He's trying to trick you into making more money and having more fun along the way.
Right.
Do we have clarification? Okay, good to go. Let's see here. What's this one?
This is the 90-day contest for foresters. You can pull it up.
Okay.
So you said you were going to do all the announcements, and you're handing
Did
me
I?
the yes. This is the 90-day contest for the Foresters Run. This is January, February, and March. Okay, Foresters is on a extra mission. You think all these carriers are good? We're going to show you that we're better, and we care about you more. So they're running an extra contest. Okay, so this is when you get 20 veterans, 10 pros. And 5 rookies and 5 lottery winners, okay? So you rookies, oh, you guys are so cute. You guys can knock out the pros and the veterans, and you pros can knock out the veterans, okay? And this is gonna be a really cool flight. Like they're gonna take you up to the Foresters headquarters. You get to talk to all the people that you've been talking to on the phone, and we hope you've been nice to them the whole time, because you're gonna see them. You understand these are the people who issue your business, right? You know, it is not helpful to not be nice to them, okay? So they're gonna pay for your flight, your hotel, your food. I think there's a hockey game because you're in Canada, and therefore you need to go to something hockey related, right? I'm gonna say I'm pretty sure. So
Last I heard it was a baseball game.
Oh.
Toronto Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
That's what I heard.
Is that Blue Jays?
Yeah.
Baseballs? Okay,
Yes.
sure. All right. Okay. All right, go for it.
Number 1, Joseph Dukes. Number 2, Shannon Barnhart. No, Joseph Dukes was number 1 on the other one, too.
Yeah,
wasn't
he was, uh-huh.
Good Lord. Robert Wilson, Tim Sight, Merlene Felix, DJ in Alaska Jennings, Jeremico Edwards, Mark Hutchison, Stephanie Rodriguez, Mike and Brittany, Andrew Peters, Mike and Noel. Oh, yeah. Debbie Ben, Randy Berry.
And just to be clear, that's Mike and Noel riding business, not one of their agents.
Yes.
Yeah, let's be clear
Yes.
about that. Yeah.
You know, they're already making about $1 million a year, and they're like, you know what, we're going to
We're going to show them how it's done.
We show them these youngers. We just don't know what to do. How to do this thing.
That was his Uncle Leroy.
Yeah, that was where was I? Jonathan Megan, Jake, and
Beret.
Doug Becker, Austin Heater, Jason and Tawny Carey. We'll do one more.
No,
Jason
because
and
it's the
Tawny-
top 20 veterans, and then the 10 pros and the 5 rookies. So you gotta keep going
Oh, my
down.
goodness.
I know, you have to. There's
Danny
more
Johnson,
names.
Bonita Mitchell, Brittany. Since I know that, I'll put more emphasis
Okay,
on
yeah,
their
more.
names.
More excitement.
Eric and Lisa Drudge, Sarah Pulse, Annette Ivy, Cameron Ashcroft, Christian Cameron, Jara Gonzalez, Fred Butler Jr., Barry Spates, Matthew Bueno.
You
Guys.
skipped birth.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Bertha and-
Bertha and Paredes, Hernandez Paredes.
Yeah.
Yeah! Matthew Bueno,
Vincenzo.
Vincenzo Napoli.
That's Vinny.
Patricia Martin.
Now everyone gets a special accent.
Yes. Nick and Viviana
Woo!
Sabino Cordova.
Okay.
She in here?
Yeah, they're right there.
Oh, that's
yeah.
you guys. Good job. Good job.
Okay. So that's it.
That's it.
These
are the guys that
Got bumped.
almost made it. Joe,
Well, the contest isn't
Janina,
over yet, but Yeah.
They got some running to do. That's what it is.
yes.
They got some running to do, but they can totally catch up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking for my name. That's all.
Yeah, we didn't write it a lot for it.
Shoot.
Stop scrolling.
Shoot! Oh! Okay, so speaking of that, on top of this kind of goes with the other contest actually, but here we are. So Foresters, that's one contest that we just talked about from Foresters. Foresters is also going to give us another bonus contest on top of that.
Another one.
Okay? The way this one works, so you got 20,000 or 30,000 issue paid with the Alliance, right? Forester says, well, if you do it with strictly Forester, so let's say you have 40,000 issue paid and 20 or 30,000 of it is with Foresters, on top of the money Andy would give out, if you get 20,000 issue paid with Foresters, they'll actually give you $500.
Mm-hmm. Making it rain, right? Mm-hmm.
All right.
This is a thing.
30,000, you get $1,000 from Andy and $1,000 from Foresters.
Yep.
Okay. Same thing for February. So they've committed to January and February doing that already. So right now.
And you know how you get them to commit to doing it March and April? They see a difference in the production, right? You can't keep sowing where you're not going to get something. So that's why they're going to do it, you know.
Good to go. So number one, once again, Joseph Dukes, Shannon B, Robert W.
He's in
what
Colorado.
has he got in his Wheaties? Timothy, Merlene, DJ, Jeremico, Mark H. So these are the people that are in the running right now. They have not, like if it ended today.
There's 2 days left?
There's
2
days left. So these people, ooh, it's close. It's coming down to it. Jeremico, Mark H., Stephanie R., Mike and Brittany. Well, actually, right now,
yeah, it would be
Joseph
between,
would be he's got 20,000 issue paid with Foresters.
Right.
Shannon B is pretty darn close.
But yeah, there's a
got 2
whole
days.
other month. Yep.
Got a whole nother month. So now that you know this, yeah, they did kind of spring this on us in the middle of the month. So now that you know this, you got to go ahead and prep. Go ahead and start sandbagging or whatever you call it. Don't sandbag. Don't do that. It's bad.
All right.
So these are the contests that there's just so many. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick out all the ones that I see my name on it and have Jane tell us how awesome I am.
So these are it's on there, the power of 10. You have to pull it up on there. So this is the power of 10, all right? So the power of 10 means that you hired somebody who, and you got them to 10 policies issue paid. Because we figure, you know, it's kind of like, no, there needs to be a better example besides crack, right? You know, you give them a sample and they just go back. Is there a better example? You give them a little bit and then they just want to keep coming back. You were supposed to do all the announcements. I didn't plan for this part. Okay, so power of 10 means that they didn't just issue one policy. They didn't issue 2 or 3. They issued 10, right? And that shows consistency. It shows persistency. Because once you see those deposits hit your account, you're like, oh, I could get used to this, right? I could keep doing this. So power of 10
Managers
is...
first?
No, I was going to do the individual. Okay, whatever you have up. Okay,
There
so
we go.
managers. So Riddle got 4 people, right, to the power of 10. We have 2 that got to power of 10. Eric and Bobby Belair, 1. Paul and Sam Menachino, 1. Olga and Jason Mathis, Dustin and Courtney Craig, Mike and Noah Levin-Tovich, Patrick and Susie Connors, Paul and Tamara Roberts, Jeremy and Amy Patton, Michael and Angie Owens, Chris and Greg Sheiklin, Diane Lampy, and Jason and Tony Carey, and Joseph Dukes all got 1 to the power of 10, okay? At the same time writing business, at the same time doing everything. I need to slow down so I don't sound like a chipmunk. Okay, so this is
The
individuals who did it, right? So Sabrina, Ed, do we usually have the full name? No, okay. Jay Shannon, Catherine, Barnabas, Jacoya, Blondie, John, Teresa, and Deidre are the people that got the power of 10. So congratulations. You're probably going to get a call to find out your t-shirt size. They're going to send you a really cool portfolio thingy. There's going to be lots of goodies to entice you to do it again. All right? Yes.
This one's got small print.
Yes, it does. Your name is on there. Okay.
Where?
Oh, I don't know. Just do just do all of them.
She doesn't hit me at home, I promise. That's right. That's right. All right, I think, oh wait, submitted premium. Number 1, Paul and Sam Minikino. Week ending 125.
You're going to pull it up?
Yeah, I can pull it up on here. So no, it's not up here.
Okay.
Wow. Gustavo, Stephen Davies got 5 apps for 12,000.
Gustavo and Mercedes.
Y'all, this is this week. This is conference week. This is the week of conference. Paul and Sam had $16,783 submitted.
That's right.
Gustavo had $12,041 submitted.
And Mercedes.
There you go.
I'm just saying.
Joseph Dukes had 11,000 submit. Chris Baldwin had 10,680 submitted. Brandon and Ashley B had $10,662. Junior Korea, $10,598 submitted.
Mm-hmm.
James and Jane Hill, $10,372. Good job. Jeremy Patton, 10,000. So you'll notice a lot of the names I'm saying here are the names, like, that's consistency, y'all. That's consistency.
And if you want to hear your name, do something about it. Yeah.
Run more appointments than they do. Because you'll get better and better, gooder and gooder. Diana P., Brian R., Merlene, Mark, Chris and Courtney Long, Vincenzo Rogers,
Vinny.
Vinny, Katrina G,
Vinny.
Minerve, Profil, Jason B. They all had over 9,000 submit.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. That is crazy. And
For over 9,000 submit. Oh. Oh, are you? Uh-huh.
And then these are your standings for the trip to Phuket. That's what we decided to go with the pronunciation, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Chiang Mai or die, right? That's what. That's the mantra, right, Paul Vanthoff?
Look at that. So, what's the qualifications? 125,000 points for the first step, and then 220,000 for
Chiang Mai.
Chiang Mai. So you got to divide. You got 12 months in a year, right?
11 months left.
So if you want the extension to ride on the elephants, that's 220,000 points.
Actually, don't cut it close. 10 months left.
10 months left, yes. Divide that by 10, so you need 20,000 issue paid a month.
Yes.
Minimums. Remember, if you follow our minimums, not only do you make the monies, but you also get the extensions.
Ta-da!
It's crazy how that works. So, y'all, like I said, we've been here. We just got back from conference, had an absolute blast.
That's right.
Anybody else can you tell just how much love and attention the staff that put together that event for us? Can you just not tell like how much they enjoy it and how much they love us for putting together something crazy like that? Those skits were hilarious. Those skits were hilarious. Oh man, thank you all so much for doing what you do. Making sure the sound was on and everybody could hear us, all that kind of stuff. So we're all on a high right now. Like we just got back from conference. Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? We feel invincible. We feel unstoppable. Now, get home. The world is going to try and take that fire. So Jane is going to tell us a little bit about living inside or outside the contradiction.
Okay.
Thanks, baby.
All right. So
Take it away, Jane.
Okay. So sorry, one last announcement. For President's Club, a lot of you signed up for the free trial for President's Club at NatCon. So it is very much like a gym membership. If you don't use it, it's not going to do anything for you, right? So there's no reason to pay for the gym membership if you're not going to use it. This is a free trial, so that means that you have over the next month. Chris Hill sent out emails for WebPres, how to use it, how to sign up for it. It's posted on Band. If you didn't get the email, your spouse did. They're working on that, right? Yeah. But yeah, please use it, utilize it, reach out to President's Club, because they will help you increase your business, but only if you actually use it. Make sense? Yes. Okay. So we are very grateful to be able to do this TWC. We're so excited. Yes. Yes. It's wonderful. Okay. So like James was saying, it has been a couple of days since NatCon, and if you were there, I know you learned a lot. Right? You met some amazing people, and you got a lot from it. If you weren't there, we are so sorry that you weren't there, but I hope that you are already signed up for a family reunion, okay? Because you don't want to miss out, again. All right, so coming off of NatCon, I know that one of a couple things happened to you, or multiple of these things happened to you. You got home, or you were making dials on your way home, and you had an amazing dial session. You were fired up, and you have already run appointments, right? Or you made dials when you got home or on your way home and you did not have a great dial session. You had a so-so session. You made, you got home to probably a hot mess sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. You got home to some situations. Basically, you got home to life, right? Is that fair? You know, all of us came home to life. So what I want to talk to you about is something that I've had issues with, because those of you who know me have so many issues, right? I know. You guys know the stuff that we talk to you about is the same stuff that we deal with, right? Yes, please know that. So have you ever felt like you have had more to give and you want to accomplish more, right? But you get frustrated because your external circumstances just don't seem to allow you to accomplish what is burning inside of you, right? So the question is, what do you do when your vision doesn't match your reality? And this is what we're going to call the gray area of life, right? This is the contradiction of life and business. And this is the thing, wealthy people can live in contradiction. And our job is to live in this contradiction, in this gray, right? Andy's like the best first-hand example that we have of someone who knows how to do this. So I'm going to give you examples. So most people naturally live in the black or the white, right? It is or it isn't. And when my reality doesn't match my vision, what usually happens is people say, they don't actually say these words, they might actually say these words, but they say, I guess I'll just give up and settle. I guess it wasn't meant to be. And we negotiate the price of success down to the point that there's nothing left. Right? We slowly compromise our internal dreams and our visions until it matches what we do see around us. And it can be kind of painful to hear, right? Yeah. But people like Andy have learned to live in the gray. And the beautiful thing about it is we can learn to do that too, okay? So what does that mean, living in the gray? It means that when he was in his unfinished basement, where the ceiling like came to here, like I could probably touch the ceiling if I jumped, right? When he was living there, then he could visualize having this corporate office.
Yeah.
When he was staring out the window of the house that he bought from his parents, bless you, and it was a single pane window. So you know when it's cold outside and hot inside, all that condensation and fog forms on the window, right? It basically looks like you took a shower in your living room because there's so much fog, right? When he was looking out those windows, he could picture himself looking out the window of his private jet, right? When he was driving around from North Carolina to Florida, doing his 2-week-long tours, right, to come back to be home for like 4 days and then be gone for another 2 weeks. When he was driving around in his blue monster Cadillac something of a car, right? Had lumpy seats, right? All this stuff. When he was driving around that, he could picture, right? He was ripping out of the Rob Report for years, ripping out the Rob Report, Ferraris and Lamborghinis and other car names, right? That you would like, right? He was doing that sometimes with tears coming down his eyes because he could feel it. He could feel the leather, even though he wasn't sitting on the leather, right? But yeah, sometimes, you know, with tears, because sometimes you want it so bad, right? But it's just when it doesn't physically seem to be happening. So when we were so broke, and James kept saying, it's going to work. And I kept imagining killing him. And he kept saying, imagine what it'll be like. Imagine what it's going to feel like. And for me, honestly, it felt like a lie. Because, almost like a lie, because for a long time, it just wasn't happening right now. And so I thought by trying to imagine it or feel it, that I was just kind of lying to myself, you know? So, because it had to just fall into these lines. You know, in school, they teach you to color within the lines, right? Yeah, that's just wrong, you know? But when we first started, we came here, we were an absolute mess. I keep hearing hot mess. I don't understand what hot mess comes from. Like, how is a hot mess different from a cold mess? I don't understand, but it's geothermal. Okay, we were in a geothermal mess, okay? And we had over $80,000 in credit card debt, trying to run appointments. And I think the gray is the stress and anxiety. When the stress and anxiety is overwhelming you, and you're still trying to make phone calls. And all you want is for someone to pick up the phone, right? Sometimes that's all you just want, is somebody pick up the phone. And then they finally pick up the phone, and you just want someone to say yes to you on the phone, right? And then someone says yes, and then you're like, I just want them to be home. You know, when I get there and I knock and they're just not opening the door. And I want to say, I know where you live, but you can't say that to them. You know, that's not good. Okay, that's not good. Don't do that. So I think the gray is knowing that you're going to get out of the situation, even though it might not always feel like it, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of personal examples of the gray besides all those appointment things, right? So the gray is when we were trying to get going. And again, remember, we came in with a lot of geothermal mess, right? So when we came in and I remember not having enough money to turn on the heat in our house in the middle of winter in Maryland, right? We turned it on once a week for our hotspot. That's when we turned it on, right? And you know, that was the season that we found Paul Menachino during that time, right? We have slept in our cars. We've shared rooms with like 6 other people at hotels, so there were 8 of us. We've had bills come in color multiple times. Like all of a sudden we're gonna have money. You know, we've had agents cuss us out. We've had just so much stuff happening in this like gray, you know? And all the while, the idea is, and we're still telling ourselves this, right, is that we're not looking at the price tag, right? You're not looking at the price tag when all this is going on, because broke people, you're not looking at the price tag. You're looking at what is this going to be worth to me, right? So broke people always have to look at the price tag. How much is this food? How much are we paying for where we're living? What is the price for the journey that we're on right now, right, for life? And wealthy people always look at, is this going to be worth it? And it seems like a small difference, but it's a huge difference, right? Because it's the worth of it, it's the value of it, it's who you're becoming, right? It's realizing that our present circumstance doesn't dictate our future. So our present circumstance is what we see right now, good, bad, or indifferent is what we see right now. But it's one snapshot in our life, right? And I don't know about you, but this is not the end of our story, right? Wherever you are, this is not the end of your story. It is one snapshot, Snapchat, snap filter thing, right? I feel like, you know, there's all these things that Marco Polo and all this stuff. And I was like, even back in the day, I wasn't trendy, right? I was just like, it would have been, and then I feel like we might as well send smoke signals up. That's how trendy I am. There's no smoke signals. And then Andy said at conference or at NACON how he like sky wrote something for Jane in the sky. I was like, oh, smoke signals, right? That's what I was thinking. Anyways, okay, so this is one snapshot. Okay, sorry, in my mind. All right. I think a huge thing for me that helped me get through the gray was realizing, or as we continue to go through the gray, was realizing that everyone goes through it. Is that a fair assessment? Mm-hmm. Everybody is in the same boat as you, okay? And so if everyone is in the same boat, as everyone is going through it, and some choose to do it anyways, why not you and I choose to do it anyways? To act and continue to make dollars when you're being cussed out, to do the door knock after you've been no-showed twice, after you've had your sit no sale and you just do not feel like it, right? And you do it anyways. When your parents or your friends tell you to go get a real job, right? Which, by the way, you know my parents still tell me to get a real job, right? I mean, I don't know if it ever changes, you know. But all of it is a mindset thing. because it's our mindset, it's our way of thinking that's going to color our outlook, right? That's going to make our attitude different. So when FDR took office, the United States was in a Great Depression, right? So it wasn't that economic circumstances were not bad, but what he realized going into this Great Depression was that people thought the economy was actually worse than it really was. So because they were so overwhelmed by anxiety, they were paralyzed by fear, right? They acted like it was worse than it was, and they drained all of their energy and emotion and mental aptitude that they would have had to get out and do something, because they just used it being drained by the fear and the emotion. Right? I feel like I'm driving Amp crazy because I'm doing this. And it's just, I'm sorry, right? But yeah, shut up there. You can get me in trouble. You can get me in trouble. But this is the thing, right? Like, but yeah, see this. I know I can't understand exactly what you're going through right now, but I do understand, right, to some degree. And so the key is not to get overwhelmed, not to get bogged down by all the things that we can't control, because we can't control that bill's coming in color. We can't control that this bill is we can't control that stuff. But what we can control is that we can get on the phone, right? We can go do door knocks. We can talk to our server, which sometimes I'm like, how are you talking to a server? You don't have any money, right? It's just, but that's a side note, right? But, we just need to control the things that we can control, all right? So that's why he gave the speech. We have nothing to fear but fear itself, right? So that way they would have the energy to go and do something, all right? Okay, so that's one area of gray, when your external circumstances don't match your internal, all right? And you do the work anyways. Sometimes the gray is when someone says they believe in you, right? They say they believe in you. And when someone says they see more in you than you think you are capable of doing, which sounds nice, doesn't it? It makes you warm and fuzzy, right? But there's this other voice, right, that's coming from inside of you that says it appreciates what's being said, but it doesn't quite agree with what you're hearing, right? It doesn't quite match up. And it's because you're thinking you're only saying that because you don't know me, right? You don't know, right? You don't know me. And you know what your problem is? Do you know what my problem is? Is that you know all of your dirt, right? You know every single thing that you've done bad, wrong, where you gave up sooner than you were supposed to, every bad intention. You know all that stuff, and you know all of your dirt, right? And that's why we say things like, well, yeah, but I can't really, or, even though other people can see it in you, right? We feel inadequate. But you know what? Here's the other thing. Everyone has dirt too, right? And if you have dirt, that means everyone has dirt. And people are like, yeah, but my dirt's worse than your dirt. Oh, you're so cute. You are so adorable. All right. So stop psychoanalyzing yourself and get up off of that couch, right? Because don't miss out on opportunity, on life, because you think you are the only one with dirt, because you think you are the only one that doesn't feel adequate, because you think you are the only one who doesn't feel like you are enough, okay? I actually said that to Jane Albright. Asked me something at NetCon, and I was like, I don't know, I just don't think my self-image is very high, and she smacked me. And I think it might be a Jane thing, hitting people, I don't know. But I am still working on myself, okay? Just like you are working on yourself, so you leave myself alone, all right? All right. So sometimes, because you're in this gray, like I don't want to try because of that inner voice, right? That inner voice can kind of bog you down. And sometimes I try despite the inner voice because I think people are counting on me, which is why you hire people. They make you try. Thanks, thanks people. All right. No, thank you. All right. Okay. But that's why you do, because they'll encourage you to try more because they're trying. How can you not try when your people are trying, God, it's exhausting. That's what it is. Because that's when the obstacles come, right? Because they always come. It's called life, people, right? And the key is to not go back to the convenient voice that tells you that you are, that tells you that you're too busy to do that, right? It tells you, I'll do it later. It tells you, you couldn't have done it anyways. It's actually, it's a horrible voice, but it's a convenient voice because it gives you an out, right? So sometimes the gray is in the mundane, the boring, and the routine. Because you reach a point from where you went from, I don't know how to make a phone call, to I know how to make a phone call and they're home, which is super exciting when they're there, right? And you can make sales, you know? So you go from that to you've made hundreds of thousands of phone calls. You've sat thousands and thousands of appointments. And it gets a little mundane, right? You've taught the phone script 1,822 times. Not that I've counted, right? You know, but it reaches a point where it does get really routine and boring, right? And this is the thing. Human beings, we are meant and created to seek after new, right? To get that adrenaline. But success is not the newness. It's not. It's the consistency and the boring and the routine. Because championships, sports analogies riddle, right? Championships are not won on the national championship field, court, right? They're not won there, okay? They are won in practice with the blood and the sweat and the tears. That's where championships are won. They're not won in that one confetti moment, right? They're won before that. Right, so because getting the award on stage is cool. It's really amazing, right? But that's not where that battle was won, right? That battle was won in all of 2019 before then, okay? So everything, if you're gonna be a professional at anything, right, it's gonna get routine. If you are a professional athlete, how many times are you throwing that ball? Like how many times have you thrown it, right? If you, the tens of thousands of times, right? And if you're a parent, how many times have you sang Baby Shark, right? Like just thousands of times, right? That means you're there. I've sung it hundreds of times. I don't even have children, right? So, but that's the mundane, right? I have a nephew. I have a Baby Shark, you know, yeah. Not with James, yeah, no. All right, just to clarify. The greatest shoot, when you've eaten salad for 2 days, right? You do keto for 2 days, and that stupid scale does not move. That is what, you know, gray is, right? Who here would eat more salad if you lost weight as soon as you took a bite of that salad, right? You could see it, you know? Or eat less chocolate cake if as soon as you ate that chocolate cake, you gained a pound, right? You know, yeah. It's because you're still young, that's why. All right, okay. But this is, principles are just principles. It doesn't matter if they're business or you're physical or whatever, right? Principles are just principles. All right, so, being an entrepreneur, little thing on this. Being an entrepreneur is a walking contradiction, right? Because yes, you have the freedom to decide what your schedule is. Yes, you get to decide how you work, right? When you will work, but you also have to pay your bills, right? Being an entrepreneur is not like I get to get up whenever I want to, right? I get to go to bed whenever I want to. Are you back in college, right? This is not what being an entrepreneur is, right? You have to pay a different price of success because you will have some of the most amazing highs in this business, right? That client that hugs you when you are walking out that door because no one else could help them, right? When you're able to help an agent, show them a path so that way they can pay their bills now, like that is life-changing for you. It's life-changing for them, but it's life-changing for you. But you will also have some of the lowest lows here, right? Like I don't think I've ever felt more alone or more afraid or just felt like I had no control at different points in my life than here, you know? But at the same time, the incredible highs, right? So being an entrepreneur is not a fad, okay? All because you don't want a job and you don't want a boss and you watch some inspirational YouTube videos that not make you an entrepreneur, right. All right? You gotta do the work to get you an entrepreneur, all right? So, we wonder things like, if I found my calling, why am I still struggling? If I'm supposed to do this thing, why is it so difficult? If I have a vision to help people, why am I not in a position to do so? If I were meant to have money, it would be easier. If I found my soulmate, why am I not happier? Leaders fight through the gray. And on that soulmate thing, if you think there's only one person out of the 7 billion people on this planet that you are meant to find, you've got to stop watching movies. All right, I'm just saying. All right, okay. So think about Moses, all right? Whether you believe in the Bible or not, it is a book, okay? So, because I have a lot of examples here. Not a lot, don't worry, don't turn off the TWC. All right, but think about Moses. If he's thinking, if I'm supposed to bring these people out of Israel, it would be easier, right? And he would say things like, someone else can do it. I have a stutter, right? I don't speak well. I'm not good enough. So justification and reason, right? That's what we do to ourselves, to talk ourselves out of doing something. And for 400 years, the Israelites, they said, cried out to God, right? For 400 years. So what if, Ivan, right? What if during those 400 years, God called other people to take them out? But they said no. They justified and they reasoned themselves out of doing it. And that's why 400 years passed before they got free out of Egypt. Right? You know? But Moses finally did it. So the question is, who in your family history, who in my family history reasoned and justified, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, I'm not meant to, people like us don't. Right? Because that could have changed for your family, for my family, generations ago, but somebody reasoned themselves out of it, right? Abraham Lincoln failed to be elected for 12 years. Can you imagine the conversations that happened in the Lincoln household, right? When he failed to be elected for 12 years? Talk about some gray area, you know? And he becomes president when the nation is being torn apart because of slavery, right? He could have reasoned and justified the nation's not ready, we're not ready. Like, he could have justified and reasoned, and he would have been perfectly right to do so, right? But instead he said, no, it's gonna end now, right? I know there were lots of politics behind it and everything, right? But it was gonna end now, right? This is my last one. Amelia Earhart, right? You know, she was the first female pilot. She wanted to be a pilot. She couldn't make a living being a pilot, right? So she got a job as a social worker. But all because she got a job as a social worker, did that mean she was giving up on her dream? No. It meant she was going to do whatever it took to make her dream come true. Her first offer to fly on a plane was these guys came up to her and said, we have a sponsor that wants to sponsor the first female pilot. But we're going to have 2 guys fly. You can sit in the plane. We're not going to pay you anything. We're going to pay these 2 male pilots all the money, right? And then we're just going to use your name. So she could have heard that offer and been offended by it, right? Like, no, I'm going to do it my way or whatever, right? She could have said. She said, okay. And that was the first time that she ever got to do that, right? 5 years later, she is the first female pilot. So that's 5 years of living in the gray, right? Of wanting and trying before she became, right? And before she reached that moment. So can we please go 5 days, right? Just 5 days, right? Can we please go 5 weeks, 5 months, right? She did that over the 5 years, not even knowing if it was ever even a possibility, right? We have a system where you and I both know if we do the work and we don't stop and we don't give up and we stop moving and stopping and moving and stopping, right? If we would just stop doing that, then we will achieve the results that we want because there's literally a system in place, right? So it is a choice. We need to realize our current emotional and mental state does not have to dictate our actions. If we feel like crap, if we don't feel like doing it, right? We feel bad. It doesn't mean we have to act like it, okay? If we feel lazy or not like traveling, it doesn't mean that we don't do it, right? Why? Because we are not 5 years old anymore, people. All right. Can you imagine if our current emotional and mental state was always dictated the actions that we had in our life, right? We would be like the 2-year-old that throws a fit because someone took our goldfish crackers, right? Like that's not how we need to act. So whatever yours or our circumstances are, we can find people who succeeded in spite of, despite, whatever the circumstances. You can also find people who failed, but I kind of want to find the people who made it and ask them how, right? And Michael Phelps, he's a swimmer. Look at all these sports analogies, right? He's a swimmer. All right, and he's been interviewed a bunch of times, and there's 2 things that I very distinctly remember him saying, which is he said, I like winning, but I hate losing, like so much, right? And they said, so is there anything about swimming that you don't like? Is there anything about swimming that you hate? And he said, cold water and early mornings. That's what he hates, cold water and early mornings. And do you know what that man did every single day for years? He hit that water at 5 o'clock in the morning, every single day for years. And people say, well, if I knew I was going to get a gold medal, I would have done it too, right? But he didn't know. He believed he was going to get a gold medal, but he didn't know he was going to get a gold medal, right? Because people will say, thank you, Terry, I need that validation. People will say things like, I don't like making phone calls, right? And I was like, oh, me too, right? I don't like driving to an appointment or something. I was like, oh, me too, right? So do you guys want to know how to never get frustrated? Yeah. Do you want to know how to always stay motivated? Yeah. Do you want to know how to always get everyone to do what you want them to do so you're never mad? Do you guys want to know? Is it? Me too. That's what I want to know too. So when you find something that doesn't require you to make any phone calls or talk to anybody or do any work and you'll make money, you can tell me because I will be the first one to join you. All right? Okay. So, because you and I can't predict the future either, right? But for Phelps, that whole gold medal thing, like there's only one gold medal for that swimming thing that he did, right? That whatever race butterfly, I don't know, whatever thing that he did, right? There's only one gold medal every 4 years for that thing, right? But what is beautiful about our system is that everyone and anyone can make it to EVP. There's not like, oh, we've hit our quota, right? You can't make it up there. You know, oh, you can hit junior board member, you can hit agency manager, you can hit district manager. There's no limit to it. It's not that they passed out one and you can't get one, right? And Phelps hated cold water and early mornings. You may not like making phone calls. You may love it. You might not like getting no-showed. But what do you want more than the bad thing that's happening to you, right? What is it that you want more? So some tangible things, right? You left NetCon, and the feeling may be waning a little bit, right? It's still January, yeah? So you know the gym was full January 2nd to January 14th. You know that gym was full. Parking lot was full. Everything was full, right? But you know, gym's probably not that full right now, right? I'm just saying, right? Gym's probably not that full right now. But you know who's still going to the gym now? The people who have set triggers in their place. I talked about this a little bit at the women's seminar, right? And I'm just saying, I looked at the lineup for the women and the lineup for the men, and ours was just better. I'm just letting you know, all right? Okay. But the people who are still going to the gym right now are the ones who set triggers for themselves, right? They put their shoes and their gym clothes by the bed. So as soon as they get up in the morning, they see it, and they are just more likely to do it, right? And so we have to trick ourselves into, quote unquote, going to the gym, right? Whatever it is that you're trying to do, put triggers in there so that way you automatically do the work instead of sitting there thinking, should I make dials now? The answer is basically always yes, but should I make dials now, right? And so our business is to sell and recruit and teach people how to sell and recruit. So what is going to trigger you? What is going to trick you into making dials from leads, from referrals? Like, you know yourself. I can't tell you what your trigger is, right? But you know what gets you to make those phone calls, right? Andy said it at the last manager's getaway, right? He said something like hard work should not be the anomaly, right? Hard work should not be the thing that we don't do. That should not be the reason why we don't succeed, is because we don't do hard work. So we don't own success. Success is something that we get every day by making a payment every day. I think Andy said it on a TWC like a couple of weeks ago, right? We rent success. But here's the thing. You know what we should take comfort in? When you buy a house, you put a down payment on that house, and then you make monthly payments on that house, right? So many of us have put a down payment here, right? You've got your license. You learned how to make phone calls. You have run appointments. You have done interviews. You have put a down payment down, right? And now what we just need to do is the maintenance, right? Just making those little payments, because you already have a huge chunk of it, because getting started is most of the battle, right? We just need to make those monthly payments. This is my last thing. All right, so I remember talking to an agent, and this person, I really don't remember who it was, but this person was frustrated because they said they don't feel like they're making progress, right? Because they're still struggling over the same thing that they struggled with a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago. All right, and I laughed. I feel like I laughed too much at them. But I laughed because I said, me too, right? Has anyone ever felt like that? Like, how am I still struggling with the same thing, right? After the reading, after the MP3s, after all these appointments and talking to people, you would think that I wouldn't struggle anymore with this thing, right? But it was a different perspective thing. So it was the going to the gym. So can you imagine? It sounds silly, right? If you're frustrated, if you're going to the gym and you're doing deadlifts, right? And then you're doing these deadlifts, and you go from 20 pounds to 40 pounds to 60 pounds to 80 to 100, right? Would it be silly to still be frustrated that you're doing deadlifts? No, right? Because you're progressing, right? You're building up your muscle strength. And so I think for most of us, we might struggle with what looks like the same thing, but we're struggling with it from a different vantage point. Yeah, from a different perspective. And so I was talking to Paul Van Thoff this morning, right? And it's about progress, going from being afraid to ask about safe money, being afraid to fill out that form, right? To then you start asking the questions, and then you start doing the BAM-FAMs, and then you start, right? Like, that's how the progress works. Like, it's incremental steps. So let's just say that you don't know what to do, right? If you don't know what to do, the word I'm going to say next would be the answer, right? Are you ready? Ask. Ask someone if you don't know what to do, right? It's a societal stigma to ask questions. This is real, all right? Why? Because schools have taught us to have answers. Schools reward you. They give you an A for having the answer, not for asking a question. You also know that schools look like prisons. I'm just saying, right? I'm not a conspiracy nut, but I'm just saying, right? Okay, but the most successful people are willing to ask questions. It is a success myth that you are supposed to figure this stuff out on your own. Be a man, figure it out, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, blah, 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 blah. Those are all, no, success myths. The people who are telling you that, look at their results. Look at the fruit on their tree, and they're probably in the same financial bracket that you are. Okay, there's not a single successful person who has ever said, figure it out on your own. Don't ask people for advice, right? No, there's not, right? So here's the thing. That's a great contradiction, right? There is a part of you that, yeah, you just have to do the work, right? But you do have to ask the questions too, right? To make sure that your working is going in the right direction, all right? So here's the thing. Here's a quirky thing when it comes to asking questions. Ask yourself, do you actually want to know what the answer is? Or do you just want someone to affirm and validate what you already want to do? Because that's So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you a story. a short story. So I kind of figured I knew Viviana, like I know this principle, right? I don't do this, you know? And then, because I've learned over the years, right? Because I would do it all the time, right? Especially with James. Because I'm like, no, like, this is the thing I want, right? Why aren't you giving me the answer I want? He's like, why'd you ask the question if you already know what you want? I'm like,
Chicken or steak?
yeah, okay, whatever. So I went into Andy's office in a huff, right? Just in a tizzy, having a conniption. I know, it's so hard to believe, right? So hard to believe that I would be having a conniption. And I was just like, this is happening, and I want this to happen, and then this to happen, and then this to happen. And I just like, you know, my voice went like 5 octaves higher, you know. And so he said, well, this is what we should do. And I was like, no, that is not what we should do. And I was having it out, right? And then, so he took a phone call. I sat there and stewed for like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and I was tapping my foot, and I was just like, ah, right? And then I was like, oh, I see what I did. I see. So I came into his office not with like, you know, because the 8th step is communicate with a positive mental attitude. Right? And I think agents misinterpret that. I think agents misinterpret that, and that means we just want to hear rainbows and unicorns from you all the time. And that is not what that step is. Have you read the book? All right? That step is about, this is the issue I'm having. You know, help me find a way to fix it, right? That's the positive mental attitude, like communicating. Not like, these leads don't work, and this doesn't work, and that doesn't, and you're like, okay, right? But it's like, hey, how come this person's, all these people have had success with the leads, how come I'm not, what can I change, right? That's communicating with a positive mental attitude. So after he got off the 3rd phone call, I think that he was having, as I sat there stewing, I was like, I see, I came in here not asking you what to do, what we should do, but just saying this is what I would like done. And he just looked and smiled. And I was like, all right, stop smiling at me, right? But the question is, when you ask your upline questions, yeah, are you looking for an answer? Or do you just want to hear affirmation that what you're already thinking is right? So I want to end, and then I'm going to have James talk, which is by saying you're normal if you're in the gray area, right? It's why we want you to make the trip so much, because everyone who makes those trips has fought through that gray area, okay? It is a brotherhood or a sisterhood because we're battle buddies, right, Belle? Yes, and it isn't normal to be wealthy or successful. If it was, more people would be, right? So we have to fight our natural human inclinations to have the success, to be around people who are also fighting too, right? To remind us that that's what actually normal should be, right? So my wonderful husband is going to share and talk and light you guys up. Yes.
I love it when she tells that story. Do you guys want to know how to be successful and always motivated and always this kind of stuff? And I just remember that, because if y'all know Jane, you know, there's a lot of like popular culture that she either is completely oblivious to because she doesn't pay attention to it because she's doing other things, or she like misheard it. So like she's like, you want to know how to stay motivated? Do you? She's like, we're like practicing, ready for this. You want to stay motivated? You want to, you know, how to do this? Yeah, me too. #me too. And I'm like, no.
I did not say hashtag.
No.
I did not say hashtag.
That is not what that means, baby. That does not mean what you think it means. Please, baby. So, Terry, you know, when Jane talks about going through everything that we went through, the stuff that you went through, a lot of stuff that a lot of people are, I know there's somebody out there on TV land that heard, well, that's what I'm going to have to go through in this business. And yes, but you got to remember, we came to this business broken.
Right.
So a lot of people hear what we went through to build the business, but we were a mess when we got here. A geothermal mess when we got here. If you come to us a geothermal mess, it's going to take us more than a week to fix that problem. Like, you took you 20 years or 30 years or 40 years to get yourself into this spot. Give us some grace, please. And like, we want to help, but it might take more than 3 therapeutic sessions to fix you, right? So, living.
Implying that we're fixed right now.
That is, whew. That it was not my intention. I apologize if that's what I did. Living in the contradiction. So, right now, what are we talking about? It's the year 2020. So, for minimums, like we've got a job for full-timers in this business. If you're a part-timer, side hustle, that's not who we're talking to right now. We're talking about people that, I'm full-time. I love it. I love it. I hate it. When they're like, I'm full-time. And I'm like, fantastic. What'd you write this week? I wrote 1 app for 5. You're not full-time. How many appointments did you run? I ran 5 appointments this week. I thought you said you were full. I am full-time. Well, full-time to them means they don't do anything else. I'm sorry. Full-time, 2020. Full-time, 20 appointments. 20 appointments, 20 interviews. Okay? If you are not allowed to be here for a significant amount of time and be like, I'm full-time and I ain't got no money. That is not allowed. You have a license to print money. Well, James, I don't have enough leads in my area. I don't have enough this in my area. I don't have something. That is fine. That's fine. We can overcome that. It's just, are you going to be willing to do what it's going to take? Like, I don't have enough leads in my area. What if you went to a different area? What if you drove 2 hours once a week, twice a week? Like, there's always, like, help us help you, help us help you, help us help you. So, here's living inside the contradiction. Andy's got a book called Inside the Circle of You. This is you.
You're so handsome.
Oh. There we go. Well, that ruins never mind. So, when, there we go. When this is you, this is everything that you have control of. Also, when we're growing up, we have a dream. And it's this big. This is I want to be an actor. I want to, whatever your dream is. Some people want to be famous. Some people don't want to be famous. Some people want to be rich and famous. Some people just want to be rich but not famous. Some people want to have a family. Some people want this. Some people want that. Like, this is your dream, right? What generally happens, our dream is this big. And then life hits us. Adulthood hits us. And we're told, you should probably be more realistic. We're told to shrink our dreams down to what others think or believe is possible. Usually our circle of influence. Mostly out of love. Here's the crazy part. It's mostly out of love. When your parents say, no, you should give up your dream of being a musician or an artist, it's not because they don't love you. They just don't want us to be disappointed or hurt when it doesn't work out the way we think it should, right? And they maybe, just maybe, they kind of don't want to admit that they don't know how themselves. They never figured it out themselves. They never asked the right person themselves. And if you do it, all of a sudden you're taking away their excuse as to why they had to stay where they had to shrink their dreams to this size. Does that make sense? I'm not knocking family. Like, this is everybody in this room, everybody in TV land. This is not just you that this has happened to. You're not the only one. You're not alone. So most of us end up shrinking our dream down to our income level, which is our current level of belief. Be careful not to fall into this trap. Please, please, please be careful not to fall in this trap. Now, I'm going to kind of go off into what might sound a little bit like a tangent here. I promise it all connects. If y'all are fans of Malcolm Gladwell books, by the end of the book, you're like, oh! Okay. I need y'all to be more like He-Man. All right, y'all remember He-Man? I have the power! You remember that? I remember that. So we have the power to change the future. Okay? Maybe we don't have the belief level quite yet, that we have the power to change the world. But to be honest, most of us here probably shouldn't be worried about changing the world right now. Most of us should probably spend a little bit more time focusing on fixing ourselves. Instead of trying to fix the world, can we start with us? Can we start with us? I love how the smart people on the internet, they somehow all seem to know how the UN should run, the government should run, the decisions that all the presidents have made, the local government, and how this should work and how that should work, and yet their life is an absolute mess. Their life is an absolute mess. Think about this. If we ask the average person out there, if we gave you a 10% raise this year, what would you do with that money? Most of the answers would be something like, what was your thing?
Give it away.
10%, like the average 9 out of 10 people that got a 10% raise, okay, they're making $30,000, $40,000, $60,000, no, $60,000, okay, they get $6,000 bonus. What are you going to do with that raise that you got? 9 out of 10 answers would be like, I'd probably get a nicer TV, upgrade my car, take a vacation, nicer clothes, fancier shoes. 9 out of 10 answers would be answers, stuff that they would do for themselves. 9 out of 10 answers. But if I ask the average person out there, what would you do if I gave you like this insane amount of money, like so it's a number that you can't possibly conceive ever needing more of in your lifetime, like $10 million or $10 billion or whatever the number is for you. And I said, what if I gave you that amount of money? 9 out of 10 of the answers are going to be things like, well, I'd give money to charities. I would help out my parents. I'd help out those less fortunate than me. Like they would come up with all these answers of things that they would do for others. So what does this tell us? The lesson I take from this is you can't help others with all their problems. Worry too much about others and their problems until you are able to take care of yourself, until you have more than you need. Until you have more than you need. That number is different for everybody. That, whatever that is different for everybody. So here's the difference between rich and poor, successful and unsuccessful, happy versus unhappy. They ask different questions. They ask different questions, so they get different answers. Andy asks, he's got this key, this coin, right? Says, what do I want? How do I get it? What do I want? How do I get it? I should have had one. I should have brought mine. Versus, I wish it were different. Or here's what I don't like. Here's what's wrong. Because when you start looking, like if you seek, thank you. If you seek, ye shall find. This is a, what do I want? How do I get it? Thank you very much. I wish it were different. Here's what I don't like. Here's what's wrong. Because when you start looking for, if that's what you're seeking, that's what you're going to find. Because then that causes us to ask the question, who do we blame? Who do we blame? Because if we can just cast blame, nothing gets fixed. If all we do is cast blame, what gets fixed? Nothing changes. But at least it's not my fault. Nothing's changed, but by golly, I won that argument.
Well.
Instead of saying, I can't afford that, how about asking, how can I afford that? How can I afford that? And don't get me wrong, you might be right. The thing that you think is wrong, you might be right about that. It might be better for more people if this and this and this and this in the world were different. It might be. I can't argue with you on that. I don't know. I've never really thought about it that way. I would rather be rich than right and figure out what's right. Like, I can't, if I'm going to change something, I'm going to need some influence. How do I get that influence? Like, if you want things to change, become the person that has the ability to change things. Okay? I got all this stuff that, like, my video game buddies would get that. How about this? If I want something to be different, I have to become a creator instead of a complainer. I like that. That was highlighted. I don't know why I highlighted that. That was good. I'm going to have to get into that. We ain't got time for all that. All right. There's an old saying, prepare the child for the road, not the road for the child. Okay? We as humans are extremely adaptive. Extremely adaptive. The crazy thing about our brains and how our brains and our bodies work, Nick, the crazy thing is it was created to be able to adapt to whatever may come our way. Right? So instead of being born with a specific strength and being stuck with, like, that's all you can do, the way we were created was so that way we would be able to continuously grow and adapt. And the younger you are when you get started on this, like, the better. Like, you've heard people say it's easier to learn languages when you're younger. Well, if you teach a child, like, it's just natural to them, but it's not natural. It was taught. They learned something. It wasn't natural. Let's use this example. The percentage of people with peanut allergies, like the percentage of people that have peanut allergies has increased dramatically the past 20, 30 years. Why is that? In the past 20, 30 years, all of a sudden, like, I don't remember what the exact number, but it was like insane percentage. Why is that? Well, they did a study and found out that because we did so much 20, 30 years ago to help, like, banning peanuts in classrooms and stuff like that in case someone could be allergic to peanuts, we stopped exposing our children to peanuts. And then when they grew up, ta-da, they have a peanut allergy because they've never been exposed to peanuts. Just like when you get sick, like if you get exposed to, like, your body builds up antibodies, right? They have immunities. They get immunities. So you need to, if you want, what they started doing was they started giving peanuts to kids as soon as they possibly could, giving them like that peanut paste or whatnot, and all of a sudden the number of peanut allergies started to go down because they gave their bodies a chance to adapt. So as parents and leaders, I wish to God that I could stop you from having to go through some of the things that Jane and I went through and are going through. I wish to God, like, we sometimes wish we could stop you from having to go through the hard times that are to come. As parents, as leaders, we wish we could do that for you. because it's natural to want to protect what you love. But wise parents, wise leaders, they know, wise parents, wise leaders know that if we coddle you and protect you from everything, then when we aren't around and something happens, you're not going to know how to handle it. You won't be able to cope.
No one's going to want to be your friend.
That's right. A wise leader raises up leaders, not dependents. A wise leader raises up leaders, not dependents. I don't want you to need to depend on me for everything. Like, I don't call Andy about the same things now that I did when we first got started. I ask different questions, right? We've all heard what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? That's pretty well accepted truth, right? And there's always somebody out there that points out, well, except in this succession, in this case, no, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're talking. You smart people know what I'm talking about, all right? Wind extinguishes a candle, but energizes a fire.
That's deep.
Wind extinguishes a candle, but energizes a fire. I want to do everything I can to put more fuel on a fire.
Right.
I want to build that fire. So how do we become stronger? How do we overcome our fears? One of the things that helped me the most, okay, I've been reading a lot of psychology books, so something called exposure therapy. Exposure therapy. I didn't know that that's what this was called as I was going through it growing up in my earlier years. But later I've read in a book, I was like, that's what I did. That's what I did. We've all heard of PTSD. The things that trigger PTSD is a symptom of PTSD. It is not the treatment for it. Sorry, I got that backwards. Whoop. The things that trigger your PTSD, if you avoiding, that's what I meant. That's what I was trying to get at. Avoiding triggers. Left out one word, it changes the whole sentence. Dang. Avoiding triggers of your PTSD that's the symptom. That's not the cure. Does that make sense? Yeah, strike that from the record, fix the sentence, add that one word, change it, reverse it, all that kind of stuff. Exposing yourself to what scares you in small ways at first is what's called post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth. Afraid of something? If you're afraid of something, let's use public speaking for an example. Have you ever made a mistake in front of thousands of people and had to go back? Okay. So I grew up in what most people might consider an overprotective household. Okay? I was even homeschooled the majority of my life. All right? Needless to say, having less interaction with strangers made it fairly challenging to learn how to interact with strangers. I was not given very many opportunities. So talking to strangers, much less public speaking, absolutely terrified me. For some people, just the thought of standing here, standing in front of a crowd, just the thought is enough to make them freak out. Huh? Yeah. They go, just enough to make them freak out. So let's start there. Let's start, if you are terrified of making that first phone call, if you are terrified of running that first appointment, just the thought of it is freaking you out. Let's just start there. Let's sit there let's not sit there forever, because 5, 10, 15 minutes. Let's just think about it. Imagine it. Seize it. You got to seize it before you can seize it, right? So just imagine. Apparently, according to all the smart guys, this will activate that fear in your brain, and you keep doing it until you grow accustomed to that stimuli. Have you ever noticed, like still using this example of public speaking, have you ever seen Andy do a hot spot or something like that, and he looks for just about any reason, just as Nick, right? Nick, come here real quick. Come here for me real quick. Just stand right here for me. That's too far. Come closer. Closer. There you go. Now you're in the camera. See that? Ta-da! So, Andy's just going to bring people up front. I didn't even plan on this. This is all impromptu. Let's see how it works out, man. And he just has you stand there. And even after he's done talking to you, he asks you a couple questions. And then a lot of times people try to do this thing where they like go to sit down, and he's like, oh, no, I didn't tell you to go sit down. Just stand there for me, buddy. Just stand there for me, buddy. Why does he have people just stand at the front when he's not even talking? He doesn't need them. And then at the end of the show, they're just like, can I go sit down now? Yeah, you can go sit down now.
Are you sure?
But no, not yet. At the end of the show.
I was just double checking.
I'll show you later. So he's just standing up there, right? Why? Well, he's exposing that person to what it feels like to just stand there. Because most people have never even thought of like, oh, wow. Like, I don't know how Nick feels right now, but I got him up here. Looks like he's doing okay to me. He's doing all right. He doesn't have his hands in his pocket. Like, this was me the first time. I was all like, like I was in the military. It was weird, awkward. But he's like, so this is how Andy stands. He's a little narrower, right? But the first time, if Nick was freaking out, he wouldn't be showing him where to put his feet. He'd just be like, just stand there, buddy. It's okay. Just stand there, buddy. So he's exposing you what it's like to be in front of people. And then after he sees that you've grown enough from that experience, he'll start asking like, hey, you want to speak in front of the hotspot this week? Could you teach us? Could you teach this product? Could you teach this subject? Could you take 5 minutes and just do this for me?
Let's do it.
So we've gone up another level. So if you guys ever heard that story, how do you train a whale to jump over they put a rope at the bottom of the pool. Every time they swim over the rope that's at the bottom of the pool, they get a fish. And eventually they raise it up, and they raise it up, and they raise it up, and they raise it up. Okay? Expose yourself. Don't take that out of context.
Yeah.
So then he's going to coach. Then he's going to say, okay, teach on this subject, and he'll tell you specifically what to say. Like he'll give you specifics. The first time he has you do like a thing on stage for NatCon or something, he'll be like, this is what I want you to say. Here's how I want you to say it. Specifically what to say. Raise that next thing. But now it's a bigger crowd. And then next time he'll be like, all right, you got this. Here's your topic. And then you take it from there. All right? So he's exposing you to a little bit at a time. Just a little bit at a time. Eventually, he'll ask you to do a TWC. You might have heard Andy say, all I ever wanted was a shot. All I ever wanted was a shot. A chance to prove myself. Sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes I still wish it were easier. Sometimes I still wish that. And then I remember, and then I realize how I would not be, what I believe anyway, is a much better, much stronger person than I was. If I'd have just not gone through any of that, I wouldn't, the same guy wouldn't be here talking to you right now. That person he might have been like, he might have been the guy that after he accidentally screwed up and left a word out that was very, very important, or said something stupid like expose yourself, he might have freaked out and started, instead of just like, oh, let's move on, right? Now I just try to be grateful for the opportunity to even continue down the path. We need to stop trying to negotiate the cost or the price of success. It's going to cost more than we want it to. It's going to be harder than we think it should be. No matter what we look like, smell like, I don't care what color, shape, or size, guess what? It's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fight. There you go. Hey now, it's my game show. Well, James, you don't understand how much harder it is for me. I have this and this and this and this. You might be right. I'm going to say it again. You might be right. I'm not going to get into a competition with you over who has it harder. Because harder does not mean impossible.
Right.
Does not mean impossible. The only people that lose this game right here that we're playing, the only people that lose this game are the ones that quit. Rookies and pros and maybe even some veterans just coming out of conference are probably at the point where they need to focus on the work and not the results.
Yeah.
Because when we start comparing our success to other people's successes, y'all know Joseph Duke's been doing this for a while, right? Y'all know Brant Swindell. Y'all know, like, guess what? They were as bad as you at some point. No, they weren't. No. Justin Bailey, that poor boy, the first time he made dials, had to make 900 dials to schedule his goal of appointments, and it wasn't even 20 appointments.
To schedule one. It was.
Because once we start comparing our result, like if you start comparing your results too early, love you, Bailey.
Love you, Bailey.
That's Jane said it in public. You got it on recording. So once we start comparing our success to other people's success too early, like before it's time, then we start measuring about how good we think we are or could be at something like this by how fast comparing well, they're learning faster than I am, so I must not be any good at this. Right. They're learning faster. They must be. He's a natural. Well, he learned something before he got here that helped him in this.
Right.
But they had to learn something before you either. What's the saying? You either learn here, you learn there, you learn here. There's a famous, like, Diane Lampy would know exactly. Diane, text it to me because I know you know what I'm talking about. I've heard you say it. So what we're getting at, 20 appointments, 20 interviews. Or be a fanatic, 30 appointments, 30 interviews. 20 appointments, 20 interviews, or if you're a fanatic, 30 and 30. Don't worry about, because guess what? If you do 30 appointments in a week, I don't care how bad you are, you're going to make more money than all your friends combined.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't care how bad you are. Fanatics do more. Expose yourself to success a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. Little by little until you're no longer afraid of it. Keep moving forward, y'all. We will see you on the next one. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Good job.
Thank you. You did much better than I.
You did great. No hands in your pocket.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's because I took him up, he wasn't able to take notes. That's why. If he'd have taken notes, he would have been.